Live from the apocalypse. Who's tighter with the mask than Darth Vader? I am MF Dan. MF Dan-O. Live. So we are here. And this is a new thing we talked about doing. It is just because there's a lot of I feel like when people die in hip hop, which they do at a startling rate. Do you want to hear some hip hop death statistics?
Sure.
Let's kick it off. In 2015, they did a study and they said 51.3% of hip hop deaths are shot to death.
Oh my gosh, man.
51.3. So it hasn't gotten any better. If you Google like hip hop deaths and you go through Wikipedia, it says shot multiple times. Shot multiple times outside of a Waffle House. Like, it's depressing. So I just don't want anybody to be forgotten. People, important contributors. So wanted to do kind of RIP, kick off an RIP episode. By the way, Sean Price did not get shot outside of a Waffle House. That did not happen. He died this is about Sean Price. We're going to do Sean Price. He died at 43 in 2015 in his sleep. So not, more of a Bruce Lee death. But definitely before his time, as he had rediscovered himself, and the more I looked at him, like a real godfather to what we're hearing in 2020. So I wanted to talk about that and a few different dimensions of it. The stylistic, artistic creativity that he brought to what he did, the personality, strengths and weaknesses that he had in the music, and the economic model of what he changed. So we'll first of all, how did you feel about it? You hadn't heard any Sean Price, right?
No, I've never heard of him, or I'd never listened to his music. I think I heard of his name, but I'd never listened to his music.
That's cool. And I'll cap it off with a personal story, a Sean Price story. So, what were your thoughts about the music itself?
I mean, there was a clear shift. So I listened to, let me see. Let me give you the ones I listened to. So I listened to the Helter Skelter. I listened to Magnum Force.
Yep.
Helter Skelter.
Yep.
I listened to 86 Witnesses.
Ooh, 86 Witness. Yep.
86 Witness, Mike Tyson, and Monkey Barz.
Yes. All right. This is good. You've done good work here. So, and you could hear the shift from Helter Skelter. How would you characterize Helter Skelter?
It sounded like of the times, like it sounded like mid 90s, late 90s rap. Like it was very good. Like both of them rapping is very good, but it doesn't stand out to me compared to other music in that era.
Describe, we'll get through the catalog here. That's a good preview here. Let me take a look. So first, I wanted to talk about the crew that he's a part of, and let me see here. So, Boot Camp Click. It's a hip hop supergroup from Brooklyn, New York, which is composed of Buckshot, of Black Moon, Smith and Wesson, which is Tech and Steel, Helter Skelter, which is Rock, the Rock Ness Monster, or actually Monster. Sorry. White people don't sound good when we pronounce the AH instead of the ER. Is that a fair thing to say, or is that racist?
Fair.
Anyway, Rock and Sean Price, and OGC, which is Starang Wunda, Top Dog, and Louisville Slugger. Most of the members are from Brownsville, but Buckshot is from Crown Heights. I don't care where all these people are. Tech is from Bedford-Stuyvesant. I'm in Maine. I don't know where these places are. Black Moon is an American hip-hop trio composed of Buckshot, 5 Foot, and Evil D of the Beatminers. The group was most notable for their debut album, Enter the Stage. Enter the Stage was a seminal East Coast album when it came out. Buckshot is the guy for this label. We'll get to that. Their affiliation with the Boot Camp Clique. So here's my summation. Boot Camp Clique were the next level down from the Wu-Tang Clan. The most well-known album they released was Enter the Stage in 1993, and it only sold 350K as of 2006. They were acclaimed because they had a deep crew of rappers you could follow and enjoy for their skill. But the two primary focuses were Buckshot and Smith & Wesson, who sold 300K of their debut. Much in the same way the Ghostface Killer career started to take off after the Wu showed signs of losing steam, 2000 Ghostface releases the classic Supreme Clientele, which starts a stream of great albums for him, while the Wu-Tang released their last great album that same year, The W. Duck Down and Boot Camp were on the decline due to the shifting nature of underground rap. Other underground acts like Sage Francis, Atmosphere, Idea were getting emotional, personal, or political. And Boot Camp still felt very 90s. Monkey Barz found a way to acknowledge that and turn the hunger. Monkey Barz, the 2005 release of Sean Price, found a way to turn the hunger and lack of success into a cool, unique trait, the way Run the Jewels counterbalanced themselves against Watch the Throne. Price was declaring, we ain't them, we ain't that rich, but we will punch you in the snout. And this, without Price and Ninth Wonder, I don't think Duck Down Records would have maintained. It would have gone on a natural, steady decline. Boot Camp Clique content was always very well done. It was always hardcore, but it wasn't intensely thoughtful, personal, or unique from other hardcore 90s acts. Price gave them personality, and Ninth Wonder gave them soul. So that was a breakdown. I sent you that, what, Monday or something?
Mm-hmm.
And then I find a printout. I read it because I don't watch any video that is Vlad TV. But in an interview with Vlad TV, Buckshot kind of said exactly what I said. He explains Sean Price saved the independent label around its 10-year mark. He released Monkey Barz 2005. Sean Price saved us, he says. I'm just going to give it to you real simple and plain. Duck Down Music was near done. Financially, we was close to the red button. We were also stagnated, artist-wise. The records, this, that, the audience, we had maxed out the whole, yo, real hip-hop, man, message. Ruck just came out and flipped the style and lyrics. I became a fan of Ruck. I was always a fan of him, but I became a fan of that Ruck.
Mm-hmm.
I always tell that story of how from that point, Duck Down actually came back.
Oh.
And this is the most important thing, I think, he says. Ruck started releasing a slew of records. Just records. He had that concept. Whereas before, it would be this whole mystical, magical, be in the studio for X amount of time and wait for it to drop and build anticipation. He's like, later for all that. I'm dropping verse after verse after verse. Because of that, it did. It saved us. From there, he brought Ninth Wonder to the fold. From that point, we started flowing again. So what do you think about that?
About what, the passage?
Yeah, about that. I mean, it's pretty interesting. What you identified with the Helter Skelter album kind of being serviceable, but not above that.
Right.
That's actually what happened. So I did some research as well because I remembered I was reading about it in 2005 when Monkey Barz came out. It was part of a rollout, the Three-Headed Monster rollout. We're going to release 3 albums.
Mm-hmm.
And I remembered in my head, wait, the most important one of those, the one that got all the press, was a collaborative album between Buckshot, the premier like guy on Duck Down at that time, and Ninth Wonder. It's called Chemistry. And so I listened to it, and it was flat. It was flat. I mean, Buckshot's great. I've seen him live, seen him perform with KRS-One. It just, there's nothing personal going on. There's nothing political going on. There's nothing strange at all. You know?
Right.
It's like you order real hip hop, and this is the real hip hop. Here's your plate of real hip hop. So it was, even though Ninth Wonder was like at his peak, this is like great, hungry Ninth Wonder. Everything hot. But you can hear the difference. I mean, when you listen to what Sean Price was doing, there wasn't a comparison. But the economic model, to get that out of the way, the economic model, the change in it, which he mentioned with records, releasing a slew of records. Back in the day, it wasn't like that. You know, when Enter the Wu-Tang Clan came out, Enter the 36 Chambers, it was like 92, 93. I didn't hear it because I'm in Maine. I didn't hear it for a year or two, and I listened to it till 1999, like all the time, regular, like for like years.
Right.
Shit would come out, we would just listen to it for years because there wasn't as much content. The label, right? The labels were huge. They had huge budgets, huge rollouts that took a lot of time. So you sat with your albums.
Absolutely.
So you sat with them and you read the lyrics and you listened to it over and over again. You couldn't follow their Twitter feed. You couldn't, the hip hop magazines were awful even back then. So you just kind of had arguments with your friends about the music. But Master P comes out. The South totally changes the economic model. Because the East Coast thinks they're shit. The East Coast is basically like, you're not a part of us. And so the South's like, that's fine.
Right.
We're going to do it a totally different way. And when I was living down South, I used to have conversations that blew my mind where people would be like, I don't know, man, I just want to go to the club and hear fun music. I'm not listening to what these dudes are saying. And I was like, what? Like, I was raised a totally different way. And not to say the South didn't escalate and become lyrical, but they just started from a different place. Right?
Absolutely.
The needs started from a different place, and the economic model they put in place started from a different place because Master P started putting out tons of stuff.
Right. I mean, the South was more independent minded. You know what I mean? Like a lot of the rappers down South, I mean, they got their start from, hustling their CDs out of the trunk of a car. You like to break in the South, to break as a Southern rapper required a lot more work back then.
Master P put out a movie before anybody knew what the fuck he was doing.
Yeah.
Before he was riding the gold tank, before any of that shit, he had a movie. It was, we watched it. It was cool. Like, it was just nuts that this dude had a movie. And what he would do is he would release an album. It would have like 25 songs, but every song would have a steady flow of features.
Yeah.
Any feature you liked was a guy who had an album coming.
Yeah. It's like promo for the guy. Yeah.
So they were banging stuff out. Boom, Mr. Magic's album's coming out. Mr. Servon's album's coming out. Silk the Shocker's album's coming out. Boom, boom, boom. Hitting it one after another, right? And obviously you put Silk and C out first, And because those are the people everybody's heard on most of the songs with True and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you expand from there, but they were flooding the market. It was making it harder for people to ignore them.
Right.
Cash Money, even more, right? They take that to another level.
Right.
Cash Money is basically always recording, and they're just bundling songs and putting them out.
Yeah.
They asked Juvenile on a podcast what was it like track sequencing, like the 400 Degrees album. He's like, that's just the songs that we had created, and Manny put them together and put them out. He was like, we got enough. Boom. It was a different way of doing it. They didn't think too hard about it.
Right.
So my comparison would be British acting.
Okay.
So America had this, in the 70s, had this deep dive into method acting, right? And that's where you hear all these crazy stories about, like, Dustin Hoffman demands an 89th take. Like, he's like, oh, I want to get to the level with this character. In England, they were like, fuck that. 3 takes, that's all you get.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Do it for real on the first take. Nail it on the first take.
It's more efficient, yeah.
Take, experiment on the third, whatever, but you get through.
Right.
We're moving on.
Right.
And what it did was it made those guys tougher a lot of times. Like, the great English actors became a different breed. Michael Caine, Ben Kingsley, right? So, because those guys couldn't stick it in 2 takes and move on.
Right.
They didn't need, a whole day with one scene. So that's how those dudes were. They were in the groove.
Yeah.
And what Sean P. does is he rejects the old model that the East Coast is insulated, right? They're still going off the old model. We got a plan. We got to roll out. We got to, we're going to take time with it. He's like, nah, we're going to crank it. Let's go.
Yeah.
And he starts grabbing really great underground producers from that time. Moss, Alchemist, Ninth Wonder, and he just starts taking their best beats and destroying them.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's why I still get excited listening to Monkey Barz. I still get excited.
I mean, it's like when I listen to it, because I listened to Magnum Force, and then I listened to Monkey Barz after, and then I mean, to hear the difference between the two is
huge.
Yeah,
huge. I mean, that's why I had to wear the MF Doom shirt, because it's another guy who did the same thing. He was part of a group, KMD, and they got tossed off, and thought his career was done. He adopted a weird name and made this album damn near himself, Operation Doomsday, and it's fucking awesome. It's so great. King Ghidra with all those dudes, like the Monster, the SARS or whatever. And he created himself out of nothing.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I found interesting, because I don't think I've ever heard of a rapper that has changed their sound. Not necessarily like the way they rap, but Price sounds different on Magnum Force, like compared to how he sounds on Monkey Barz. Like, it's not even like he changed his flow. I mean, he changed the way he rapped.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can hear a difference in the way that he raps. Like, if you hadn't told me that they were the same person, like, I wouldn't. And that he didn't mention his name, but I wouldn't have been able to know. I wouldn't have been able to know that those were the same rappers.
Yeah, no, it goes down to everything, like pitch,
Yes, that's what I mean. he changed the pitch on his rapping.
Like I can give you an example. There's a song on I mean, well, and Monkey Barz is so special because it knows it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a song called Fake Neptune.
Yeah.
Because the beat sounds like a Neptune's beat.
Neptune's beat, yeah.
And he's just admitting that right off the rip. But there's a sequence where he goes, "Lost my wallet, gotta find my money, bitch. How you gonna shit on me after I let you shit on me? Freaky DK."
That was a little bit much.
And he's just like to go all the way up with it, like Freaky DK. And it was just, he said it the way rappers used to say hotel, motel, Holiday Inn. Like, it was hilarious. It is so different. And I started reading, there's a Nate Patron book that came out called Bring That Beat Back. And it's all about history of sampling. So I got that in the mail. And I'm reading the introduction. And it made a great point. It said, what hip hop does with sampling is create a meritocracy for the music.
Okay.
So he uses an example. He says, in hip hop, a largely slept on like soul singer like Syl Johnson becomes as important as somebody like James Brown.
Okay.
The Manhattans become as important as, David Bowie. Or more important, honestly, because the producers are pulling these records, and if that loop hits and it's perfect, I don't give a fuck how big that dude is.
Yeah. Wow. I never thought of it that way, but I agree.
I mean, it's when you remember Common's The Light, right?
Yes.
So Bobby Caldwell, they were interviewing him about that, and he said, it's been great for me. It's a whole bunch of people who've discovered my stuff and didn't know it.
I mean, that's one of the greatest hip hop beats ever,
Yeah. So, I mean, I was thinking about that in terms of Sean Price and his trajectory, and I thought, man, it's kind of the same. It's at its best, hip hop is a bit of a meritocracy, where if you stumble or if you didn't get a chance, you get another chance.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, with sampling, your name, you're judged on the merit of your work. Your name really isn't that important. You know what I mean? When it comes to sampling.
And how many people in 2006 who fell in love with Monkey Barz in 2005 didn't even know who Ruck was, didn't even know what Helter Skelter was.
Right.
I was one of those people who, like, Monkey Barz, what? This cover looks dope. Like, I got to check this out.
Great cover, yeah.
Yeah, all those covers are awesome. But you listen to it, you're like, this is insane. And then you're like, wait, he used to be, what is he a part of? It was he's on this boot camp.
Yeah, it doesn't even sound the same.
No, it's a totally different deal. And
I mean,
the work ethic changed the economic model.
Right.
But he also built a different kind of MC to be. How would you describe, like, the Sean Price MC?
On Monkey Barz?
Yep.
I think, like, I'm not gonna say he's not menacing, but it's like his tone is over the place. That's what I like about him, is his versatility. Like, he could be, I mean, at one moment he can do a poop joke, and then the very next line could be a harder line. You know what I mean? Like, it just feels genuine. Like, it feels like a well-rounded, full person. You know what I mean? Like, his person, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, And the funny thing was, so I'll do the personal story now. Get it out there. I saw Sean Price live before he died, and it was a show I'll never forget. It was a stacked bill. It was a bunch of rappers I wanted to see, headlined by Brother Ali, who was excellent. And if you don't know anything about Brother Ali, he is a wonderful, like, nice guy. A very nice guy. Uh, there were people in the audience who were just like, he's such a sweet man. Like, he cares about people. He's a great rapper, all that stuff. Sean Price came out right before him, and he came out and he looked like a superhero, dude. He was big. He's a big dude. His chest was all the way out, game face on, and he said, "I've never had any problems on this tour because I could beat the fuck out of everybody on this tour." And he kind of looked up from it, and everybody was just going nuts, clapping. It was weird.
Yeah.
And the crowd, to me, looked like all skinny white kids in 6X shirts who were like, yeah. And it was funny, man. It was, and I looked at the crowd. I looked around, and I definitely, at the time, the whole show, I was thinking, they've missed what's so cool about him. They're cheering because he's hardcore.
Mm-hmm.
But the genre's hardcore. That's why more than half of the people die shot multiple times.
Mm.
It just doesn't happen in ska, right? It doesn't happen. Squirrel Nut Zippers are doing fine, right? But what was great about Sean Price was that he just had a different mind with a different volume. I was 1-2, y'all. Has some interesting stuff in it. On the 4th of July, Jamaican N-words rock corduroy shorts, sip Guinness stout, 40s and quarts, drunk and high, skunk and tie. Then later he says, fuck bullshit and catch a full clip up in your back when I dump fucking no-name idiots. Kurt Cobain cocaine cigarette. Plain lame, acting ignorant. So he was just weird, and he was funny.
Yes.
He was funny. And I think that was why I was like, dude, this crowd doesn't get it. Like, this guy's funny, and he's interesting.
Yeah.
And you guys kind of wanted like a big, scary black dude.
Mm. I mean, that's what I like. He can create tension and then release it like within the very next line. That's what is exciting. I mean, he reminds me of, I'm trying to think of like a villain in the gangster flick that's very charismatic, very like.
And you're almost rooting for him.
Yeah, you're rooting for him,
yeah.
And then he can turn it on the flip of a dime like that.
He's almost like, I don't know if you've ever seen King of New York, but he's like Wesley Snipes in King of New York.
Yes. Yes.
You're just like, this guy. I'd follow this guy. Yeah.
Or like a Christopher Waltz, like in Inglourious Bastards, like,
yep.
He could be funny, like charming in one moment, and then the very next minute he can just switch. Very next second, switch to something like, more menacing.
Oh, this is the best. Onion Head is one of my favorite songs. I love Onion Head.
Okay.
And it has a line that if you're not smart enough, if you're not, no, I don't want to say that. That's not nice. If you're not paying attention and you're not pulling this apart, you just think this is a badass line, right? Arigato, Sean Price, slick like El Gato, 3-piece suit in the booth, ain't shit cute. Might smack off half your smile. Go to court with a smooth suit, smack the other half after trial. You might just be like, man, that shit's tough. No, that shit's hilarious. He divided the smile in half, smacked the first part up front, and gave the other smack after the try. That's funny.
That is.
So he was just like that, and he said everything in that same kind of rockin' the world tone. So he could call himself an idiot. He could say that he got pooped on, but he wasn't going to say it in a way that gave away the change in what he was writing.
Right. That's a good point.
So you had to be attentive with it. I mean,
Yeah.
do I have any other ones here that I really? Man, oh, obviously, I can't not mention the beginning of Heartburn. It's probably one of my favorite rap songs. I love the Ninth Wonder beat, the sample.
Yeah. Ninth Wonder did some excellent work on this. I mean, the production on this is phenomenal.
It's the best. He says, I love the first things that happen on the song. I love selling Nicks at night. Go home to my son, roll a spliff, and watch Nick at Night.
Right. Yeah.
I love it when my bitch cook come home to a hot meal. It's not real. The bitch can't cook. It's just that and I don't, maybe the weird comparison here, right, is because I just finished The Last Dance.
Mm-hmm. Oh wow.
My favorite episode is the Dennis Rodman episode, with no question.
Absolutely.
But I think Rodman and Sean Price are a good comparison.
Okay.
In the sense that I always love watching Rodman. Always. Bad game, good game, don't care. Love him. Love watching him. Riveted. As an audience member, riveted. And so Sean Price over Ninth Wonder beats is kind of like Rodman and Pippen.
Mm.
It is kind of the super stable, calm executioner, like executing great beat after great beat.
Yeah.
With like the kinetic energy, all of my effort in this madman thing.
I mean, to me, I think when I listen to Monkey Barz, production-wise, there are two things that stood out for me. Like, it sounds like an album of 2005. Like, it sounds of the times.
Yep.
Particularly the production. Like you said, Fake Neptune. That, you know, that's a Neptune's beat. But that they did like a satire, like fashion. And then you also hear a lot of like Just Blaze type of things. But, you know, Ninth Wonder worked with Jay-Z and the whole like State Property Rockefeller. So it makes sense why there's similarities in production. But what I also noticed is that compared to Magnum Force, there's a lot more musicality to it, particularly with the bass line. There's a lot more soul. So I felt like it found the sweet spot between like that underground sound with the musicality and the commercial.
Mm-hmm.
The commercial sound that was big of that time.
Yeah, I think Sean Price is one of the very best people who's ever written a Ninth Wonder beat.
Yeah.
He sounds better over Ninth Wonder production than Jay did. He sounds better over it than a lot of people, dude, because sometimes Ninth Wonder picks rappers who have a very like monotone delivery.
Right.
He had this issue where she has a very kind of stable, low-key delivery, and that coupled with Ninth Wonder's kind of stable, low-key lyrics, low-key production, smooth soul, can kind of get weird, can
Right.
kind of get like a little tedious. But Sean Price over that soul sounds perfect to me.
Absolutely. And I mean, he changed, as I said earlier, he changed. I can hear audibly that he changed his voice.
Oh yeah.
I've just never like it still blows my mind because I've never heard of. Have you ever heard of a rapper that's like changed their voice, like not necessarily their flow, but like their voice, like the pitch of their voice?
I'm sure there's been some. There's people. I mean, obviously, uh, Shine had a big problem with his voice.
Okay.
Do you remember this?
I mean, I've only heard one Shine song, so.
Oh man, Shine was gonna be the next dude. He was great. People loved him in New York. Went to prison for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Puffy kind of said goodbye on that. Um, and when he came out of prison, he released a song, and his voice sounded awful, awful. Beanie Siegel's going through the same deal right now. He had medical stuff, and his voice got messed up.
Wow.
It's bad. So that happens. Medical stuff happens to people's voices,
Yeah.
and it messes them up. But yeah, this is a unique situation because he consciously changed that.
Yes.
And the and the way the verses are structured is kind of weird, uneven. The lyrics website has a lot of commas, there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of like kind of boom boom, like boom baye is a great example of that. He says, fucked up in the game, but nevertheless I'm the best. Y'all N-words be rhyming about nothing. I rhyme about nothing and sound like something. I used to sell crack and listen to Red Man. Now I smoke black while I'm getting some head. Damn. So he, so you can hear it. There's choppy stuff going on, right?
Right.
Used to be none, now I'm something better, none. It's it's bursts. It's bursts, and the bursts mean you never get to relax,
Mm-hmm.
right? You never get to relax. You're gonna get peppered, but then there's gonna stop and there's gonna be a new peppering. It's not gonna be a stable thing. And because of that, it kept the audience on their feet. It kept
Yeah.
the audience really tuned in. Oh man. Did you see the video of Rick Gonzalez talking about him?
No.
I sent you that. He's like an actor now on stuff with the CW, but he used to also rap, and he's actually on Bully Rap. He is that Realm Reality dude on
Okay.
the Bully Rap song that Alchemist produced on Mike Tyson. Uh, it's my second favorite um, beat that Sean Price ever rapped on, because Alchemist does the chipmunk sound tone
Mm-hmm.
with a sample of people singing Vishamru, uh, Vemru,
Right. Right.
like a, yeah, like a very important, you know, Jewish song of the Sabbath. Very weird. So it was very weird to hear that chipmunk in the background. I was like, Alchemist is a genius.
Yeah. Without doubt.
But yeah, no, he killed it, and he was describing, anyway. The Rick Gonzalez guy was describing Sean Price. They said Talib Kweli was on the Talib Kweli podcast. He said, what was he like? He said he was a teddy bear. He was a teddy bear. He was all love. Uh, he used to call me and talk shit to me, and
Wow.
he used to call me and tell me he loved the verse I put down. And Talib Kweli's like, he did that to me too. He called me and said, I heard you knew shit. You might almost be as good as me, or whatever. And like this Rick Gonzalez dude said near the end, I was just making music to not let him down. Like he was that guy. Like you wanted to step your game up
Mm-hmm.
if you were around him. Because he said he heard everything. He heard everybody's shit and knew who was dope and who was not dope.
Right.
And he was thinking about that stuff. He was like, "Where are you at? Are you close to my level or what? Are you gonna try? What's up?" You know, he was pushing people, uh, and you need people like that.
Absolutely.
People who aren't like the star of the show, but push everyone to be better.
Yeah.
So I was into it. I thought it was really good going back and listening to it, and just a lot of kinetic energy off that stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, how do you feel about Mike Tyson?
I I mean I liked Monkey Bars the best, but when I listened to the evolution, like it sounded like he was a little bit more like Monkey Bars was, as you said, more kinetic energy.
Mm-hmm.
But Mike Tyson was a little bit more. I don't want to say he sounded like a grizzled vet, but like you could tell like
He had figured out that style.
yeah, he grounded the energy. Like his energy was a little bit more grounded, but it was more focused though. Like his voice, like he figured out the voice, like his rapping voice. He had it figured out by Mike
You
Tyson.
know? I mean, and the song titles. Shut the fuck up, part 2.
Yes, STFU. Yep,
Pyrex, Solomon Grundy, Frankenberry,
love
barbecue
Frankenberry.
sauce.
Yep.
Um, yeah, Freddie Gibbs is on that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he was. That might be my favorite album cover of them.
Battering parts. Yeah.
Him just staring up at you as he stands over these I don't know how many 5 giant dead primates with a bloody mic in his hand.
Yeah.
Insane stuff. Became a comic book character, uh, and made it work. Um, oh, and inspired so many people
Yeah.
to do it that way. Yeah, production wise, there was a lot more Alchemist on Mike Tyson.
Hmm.
Which, how did you feel about that fit?
I mean, he could fit with. I mean, I think his chemistry with Nice Wonder is the best. But I mean, this was, as I said, this was a little bit. Well, we know Alchemist sound, and Alchemist sound is a little bit more grounded, a little bit even more subtle than Nice Wonders. And so it felt like it was. It felt like it felt more like when I compare it, like Monkey Bars, as I said a couple of minutes ago, Monkey Bars felt like the sweet spot between commercial and underground. When I listen to this album, Mike Tyson, it feels a little bit more towards the underground spectrum.
Yeah, well, it would, to me, Monkey Bars is kind of a certifiable classic, and Mike Tyson is the almost classic,
Mm-hmm.
which is why I wanted you to be able to hear. I don't think it's fair to just be like, listen to this classic this guy made. I want you to hear at the absolute peak and then hear close but still there.
Right,
To
absolutely.
me, that's kind of almost as impressive, right?
Mm-hmm.
But and really, I think 86 Witness. The reason to listen to 86 Witness is 2 reasons. First, I think Small Professor is an incredible producer.
Yes,
I think
absolutely.
I mean, this is one of those posthumous albums where you know, you have verses here and there,
Yeah, like kind of patchwork, right?
and so he's throwing people together. But man, The people he gets are fabulous.
Yeah. I mean,
Kelly Chris is on there on LaToya Jackson.
Yes, Elucid's on it.
Yeah, Elucid does great work on that.
Guilty Simpson.
Castle does great work on that.
Yeah.
I mean, my favorite song on there has been the Philly Blunt remix of John Gotti.
Yes.
And I mean, Reef the Lost Cause starts off with like, when you died, the whole city wept. Like, peace to Bernadette, like peace to your family. Like, it was really cool. And then Curly Castro went the opposite way and really paid tribute to Sean Price by doing the most like beastly kinetic energy Curly Castro verse you could imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a lot of fun. Curly Castro and Small Professor have an album together, by the way, that I bought recently called Blue Edwards. And it is great. If you want to talk about the effect of Sean Price, it has a song called Paul Pierce Stab Wounds. Come on. Come on. Sean P would high five him with that. He would love it. You know it. So who do you think had the best guest verse on 86 Witness?
Let's see. Going through, I mean, my favorite. I thought Elucid was good because I've never.
That's a
compared
heck of
to
a song, man.
Yeah, I thought like because I was comparing what I heard in Shrines. He kind of popped for me. I really liked Refrigerator P.
Oh yeah. Kelly, yeah.
So I think that Rock was on.
Oh, yep. Rock was great on Refrigerator. Yeah, right. The first one. The remix is Rob Kelly. Yeah. And the other guy on Midnight Rounds is this dude Castle, who released a really good album 2013. Still smashes underground features, but is kind of his own dude. Like hates the fame, hates the like all the to do. Comes in and rips tracks.
Mm-hmm.
And like names himself after Frank Castle, the Punisher, and goes into all that. So definitely somebody who should be on a Sean Price album. But yeah, there's Guilty Simpson. There's a lot of people doing great work on it, and I think it's just a great map to track. Like, oh, this guy, you can definitely hear Price in that flow. You know,
Yeah.
He made it okay for people to be tough and a bunch of other stuff. To admit you're broke, to admit you're, weary.
Yeah.
What was the meme line he had? Oh my God. Maybe it was Mike Tyson. I believe this is on Mike Tyson. But he's like doing the shadow boxing thing where he's talking smack to like a mythical MC. And he says, the CEO of your label's a basketball player.
Yes.
Your album's never coming out. And
that was so specific. He had to be referring to someone.
That seems like the meanest shit to me.
That stood out to me too. I mean, he had to be. I mean, it was so specific. It was such a specific, like, scenario. You know what I mean? Like, he had to be talking about someone, right?
It was. I mean, Ron Falk had a label of people. There was a lot of basketball players trying to do rap labels, and it didn't work out. I mean, Money Mayweather recently had one that did not work out. Not a basketball player, but sports star. But yeah, so that seemed really fucking mean. And he said some weird mean shit, but it always feels like he's joking or playing with language,
Mm-hmm.
This one felt like, I see you, I've been in this business. So In terms of weaknesses, here's what I would say is the missing component of Sean Price, right? No one who says bitch the way he does has a consistent female fan base. He just didn't have songs that spoke to or about women. I'm not saying you need to do the like make me proud girl. Look at you in those red bottoms. Nobody needs that, right? But think about somebody like Wayne, who always had a female fan base.
It's so weird too, because he said some of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard in my life.
But it's because a female fan base doesn't necessarily need you to sweet talk them all the fucking time. That would get annoying. The same way it would get annoying for you. Can you imagine having like a female rapper who was just talking like sexy romance talk all the time? You'd be like, shut up. Everything gets old.
Fair.
So, but Wayne would have sexy talk for his female audience, but he would also clown them a little bit. He would also joke with them a little bit. A lot of those jokes were like for that female audience or about the female audience or in relation to, right? So we talked about this with Tupac, right? That Tupac was speaking to women.
Right.
Even when he was like, wonder why we call you bitch. The you is obviously a woman in that sentence. He's talking to a female audience. And that is something that a lot of rappers can't do. A lot of the most important rappers never cracked that. Chuck D, Ice Cube, KRS-One, never cracked it.
I mean, because it's almost, and this is gonna sound weird how I say it, but there are times where Wayne is, I mean, he's very androgynous in some ways.
Okay.
Like, I mean, and what I mean by that is, I maybe androgynous is the wrong word, but some of his flows are a bit softer, a little bit more melodic. They're not as like I don't know how it's interesting, but like I don't know how to put my finger on it, but
pull off a seductive tone. He can pull off a thoughtful tone, a playful tone.
Like Mrs. Officer, like I think of a song like he can do a song like Mrs. Officer, which is to a female audience, or that song How to Love, which is to a female audience.
Somebody, you know, who's a great example, because Wayne is a trickier example. Wiz Khalifa is a great example.
Yeah.
It's not like Wiz Khalifa is just cranking out love songs. Like,
right.
He's got lots of cool songs about just, you know, playing video games, you know, smoking weed and being rich.
Yeah.
But you can tell by the way he's writing, by the way he's performing,
yeah,
that the female audience is included there, right? Like, I'm letting you in on this too. This isn't just for dudes.
You know what it is? Here's what it is with guys like Wayne and Wiz. There's a level of sensitivity and vulnerability to their rapping.
That's a good call.
That touches that female listeners can attach to.
Yes, we talked about Sean Price rhyming in bursts and kind of on the attack, right?
Yeah.
They weren't really on the attack a lot of the times. A lot of the times they were conversational or allowing you in, welcoming you in, right? Laughing with you, you know, making it a comfortable environment for the listener. Sean Price had no interest in that. So,
right.
All I'm saying is I think the people who've continued on that tradition have tried to find ways to bridge that and to make more of it. You know,
Yeah.
but they've got an advantage because they can learn from what he did and didn't do.
Absolutely. That, I mean, that's how evolution works.
Right.
I mean, and you could see, I think rappers worrying about or being concerned about their female audience, that wasn't a trend that we started to see until I would say the 2010s. That's when, like, the early part of the 2010 is when we started to see that shift where rappers were being more conscious and aware of their female audience. And I mean, you could attribute that to, you know, the whole Cash Money, Drake, Wayne, Nicki.
And with Drake especially, you've seen
Yeah.
when he's released terrible content. There is a whole built-in female audience that stands with him.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know why they stand with him? Because he stood with them when no one else would.
Yeah.
I'm not saying no one else would. I'm saying no pop rapper would.
Yeah.
In the day, I mean, they can tell you whatever they want. College Dropout is not designed for a female audience. It's not.
Agreed.
It's not.
I agree with that.
But
that's a fair point.
So this was the guy. He got on with Best I Ever Had. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
And he was singing, he was rapping, he was talking about relationships, and he was talking about them kind of with the same passion. Male friends betraying me, female, you know, breakups. He was talking about it with the same energy, right?
Yeah.
So, and he was doing it at a time when it wasn't happening. There's a whole fan base that won't ever forget that.
Agreed. I mean, that's why
they'll never abandon him, no matter what happens. And I can't be mad at that, right? Like,
no,
you know, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's a business decision. That's why he's one of the biggest pop stars in the world.
Yep. So it's, but yeah, to me, that was what was the missing piece, was how the joke shouldn't always be on the female character when you're writing the female character.
Right.
There should be a give and take there. And I think he would have improved on it. I think he would have grown the same way he grew into Sean Price, right?
Yeah.
I think he would have grown into someone who wanted to make jokes about his family, you know?
Yeah.
And that would have been cool, but never got to see it. There's a video, almost fucked me up, man. Static Selecta releases these albums that have all these cool guests on them, and this song had Sean Price and Mac Miller on it.
Oh man!
And I was just like, God damn! And Mac Miller looked so young and full of energy, and Sean Price was laid on the couch talking shit to people, and I was like, fuck, man, it's depressing. Hip hop's depressing. It is one of the best things about American life, and it is getting killed by American life at the same damn time.
Yeah.
So that's a bummer. So ranking these, how would you rank the three albums? Obviously, Monkey Barz won.
Monkey Barz won. I mean, I'll go 80. Magnum. So I listened to Magnum Force. Magnum Force is definitely 4.
Okay.
So now it's between 86 Witness and Mike Tyson. You know, I'm gonna go. I preferred 86 Witness over Mike Tyson.
When you have a great producer singularly at the helm,
Yeah.
it's a different vibe, man. And that's one of the things that really like had me wondering, because I was like, fuck, Sean Price is kind of a better Action Bronson.
I'd agree with that. Yeah.
Saying anything about Action Bronson, I saw him live too.
Yeah.
He was incredible. I love Action Bronson.
Absolutely.
But man, but Action Bronson got to do full projects with Alchemist, with Harry Fraud, with all these amazing producers. And I just would have loved to have seen a, Sean Price alive doing a full album with Small Professor.
Yeah.
You know, finding one of those killer producers. Because I'll be honest, I think production now is better than it was in 05.
Oh, agree. Oh, I agree 100%. I
There
don't think anyone could
better
debate
people
that.
at the top, the middle, the bottom. There's all the branches have better production.
I mean, the guys that were around in 05, most of them are still around, but yet they've evolved and they've developed.
Fair. Yeah, no, and other people have learned from them. I just think the industry is less of an industry and more of a clusterfuck, to be honest. So there's a lot of talent out there.
I mean, and the New York scene now, I mean, he's from Brownsville. So he would have been, I mean, you got to think Kyle's also from Brownsville. Like, he would have been in that whole movement that New York's got going on right now. He would have been
Totally.
right in there.
Totally. I mean, you were talking about Derringer, Navy Blue, Knowledge. Can you imagine him doing a full album with Knowledge?
Yeah.
I mean, that would be awesome. Rock Marciano and his production.
Yeah.
It would have been fucking cool. I mean, it felt like he died right as the fruits of his labor were just coming up.
Yeah.
That sucks.
That's how it is sometimes, though.
And sometimes, this is why I wanted to do this, is sometimes a rapper dies in a terrible way, and because that happened, with people are like, respect his genius and all that, and it's like, there wasn't really genius there. You know, I'm sad that he got shot outside the Waffle House, but it's not up there with this, right? This is
Fair.
That's what this is. This culture is about the meritocracy, and Sean Price is not like a lot of these other dudes. He was the real deal.
Yeah.
He was exciting, and he saved a record label single-handedly.
Mm-hmm.
One of the most important underground record labels, he saved it himself. So that's pretty cool. So the recommendation corner, I was all fired up to just go off on what I loved about Apollo Brown and Chez Noir with the As God Intended. Have you heard about this?
No.
Oh, it's fucking great. Chez Noir is like from Buffalo. She is connected to the Griselda people. She's great.
Yeah. Yes. Yep.
She did an album with Apollo Brown, who is the mellow music group guy. He's the guy who he produced with Locksmith. He produces all mid-tempo boom bap, awesome stuff. And Black Thought is on this album with Chez Noir. It's awesome. Sky Zoo, bunch of great people. It's a great album. I'm gonna have to write about it. I really like it. It's not one of those first listen, like, this album of the year, but like, as you take in what she's talking about and the evolution of the songs, from like "Fuck You, I'll Take You Out" to like shit about her father, stuff about her relationships. It just really evolves, man. It's a real full picture of who she is. But then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I can't even process this. Manger on McNichols comes out. Boldy James and Sterling Tolles. I've never heard of Sterling Tolles. But apparently he's been working on this album since what, 07? Did you read the whole thing?
No.
There was a whole the Bandcamp has an entire multi-paragraph explanation of him putting this album together over years and years.
So he's been working on 13 years?
And he told Boldy, he's like, hey man, I'm about to put this out. And Boldy's like, let me throw some verses on there. And Boldy hooked him up. So and it just came out, and not only is Boldy just samurai sharp on this thing, amazing, but the production's fabulous. It is awesome. The beats are weird. The beats change, and there's lots of weird elements to them. They're almost weird, like when Cobb beats get weird.
Okay.
I'm really into it. I'm really pumped about it, and it's, as Curly Castro said on Twitter, it's very Detroit. So it's exciting to hear that. The Detroit sounds fun. So that's where I'm at. What are you pitching? Perry Mason on HBO? Is that what you want?
Man, I'm not. No, I mean, I haven't really heard. Like, I don't dig. I don't dig as deep as you do, man. Like, I get all my stuff from you. So.
By the way, the end of the personal story about Sean Price, when he was walking around, he was done, right? I saw him walking around, and I looked over and I said, Sean P. Like I did it like he does his ad-lib. And he kept the angriest face on that he already had on from the stage, and he did not look towards me at all and just kept rolling. And I sat in that moment. This is how much of a nerd I am. I thought, what kind of an asshole would ever hold that against someone? You hear these stories about fans going to shows, the artist snubs them and they hate them forever. And I was like, that's totally fine, dude. Like, you didn't want to talk to some idiot you don't know? Fine. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
You'll bump Sean Price forever. Like, it doesn't have any effect on me at all. I just don't understand that for the life of me, man.
I mean, I think, when people hear like someone rapping, when they hear a record or album, whatever, they think that they have, I mean, the good artists make you feel like you have a relationship with them. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So you're thinking like, if I see them in real person, like I've been listening to your album for like the past year, like every day, man. Like,
but it's an
audience. And I were like,
that's an audience fail. If the artist is better at convincing you that you have a relationship with them than you are at grounding yourself in reality, come on, bro. Hold it together.
Yeah.
You're like one of those people who watched Superman and jumped off a building back in the 30s or whatever. People were mad about that
But
shit.
then again, also sometimes like when they're out in public, I bet he heard you, but he was still in his, Sean Price performer mode. You know what I mean? Like he's probably still in his mind on stage.
He definitely
and
heard
until he gets in that locker room, then I'm not the locker room, the dressing room. That's when he turns it off.
He definitely was like, "Fuck that kid, I'm out of here." Right? And there's no. All I'm saying is, I've never held it against him. Totally, whatever. It's cool. Like I'm moving on, man. But it was just cool. It was just cool to see him in all his glory, man. And by the way, he also, the guy on stage with him was Rusty Jukes, who's on all this. He's on all the albums.
Okay. Oh yeah, yes.
Yeah, Rusty Jukes is what happens to Sean Price when you take the funny and uniqueness away. He's just super hardcore. Rusty Jukes is just hardcore, tensed up, and it was funny to see it because he was just like, and Sean Price was just funny, interesting, engaging, and weird, and nobody could tell the difference. It's weird.
You know what I mean? And it reminds me of, like, this is something I tell everyone. Like, if you have a chance to see like a great artist live, like, you go out of your way to see them.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And once this quarantine ends and they start touring again, which will probably be sometime next year, honestly. You know, I think people are gonna need people need to go out. If I'm giving a PSA for this show, people need to go out and support these artists when they begin touring again.
Yeah, yeah. When it's safe. I mean,
Yep.
and what I would say is there's one rule that I would pitch you for should I go to this show, right? Are they at or near their peak?
Mm-hmm.
If don't go see washed people who are going to give you bad sets, right? Make sure that
Right.
last album was dope because that's what
Good
you're going to
point.
hear a lot of that last album.
Right.
That the album that comes out is good. Get those fucking tickets.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
If they're on a 3-album run where they're all killer albums, yeah, get that ticket. I don't care how much it is.
Yep.
Go.
Yep.
Go. I mean, that's something you're going to be able
figure it out. Yeah. Because you want to see, I mean, like you said, you want to see greatness at its peak because you never know, like with Sean P, you never know how long they're going to be around for.
Yep. Whenever I sit with my son and we're like, should we go see an NBA game this year? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, let's make a list of who we want to see.
Yeah.
Fuck the teams, all that shit. Let's write down names. Russell Westbrook, da 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 da. Who's the show? Who am I going to see?
Yep. Yeah.
That's how you got to approach it, man. You got to approach it like that. But
absolutely.
Thank you to whoever's checking this out, and yeah, shout out to Mellow Music and everybody else doing good work out there. Peace.